I am going to show you a project today with the Country Home stamp set and the Country Lane suite. I am going to show you, it's a little treat jar. You may have seen part of it on my Facebook Live. It was my last week if you caught any of my Facebook Live, and if you've noticed I've been missing from YouTube this week. I've had a disaster with my internet. I've been living like it's, I don't know, 1999. I don't remember when we got dial-up, but I've been living past that. We have had no internet at my house. We're having some new internet installed next week. So right now I'm living on some hotspot from my cell phone and no internet. So it's been fun. But this was a project that I attempted to do on my Facebook Live. A lot of it got on, but not all of it. So if you caught that, you may have caught some interrupted versions of it. But I'm going to do it again here for you because it was a lot of fun. I'm going to start with, this is the little flower spray out of the Country Home stamp set. You know, when you do a lot of your business online and you don't have internet, it presents some challenges. But I have cleaned my office, so a lot of people ask about my table, they ask about my video setup. So we're getting ready to go on vacation in October, so I'm going to be working on a post to show you some of that. So I got it cleaned, so this morning I did take some pictures. I'm going to do some pictures for you of like when I film and when I don't film, and my storage and all the things that people ask me all the time. And my table, I get lots of questions about my table. But it's not ever all the way cleaned off, obviously, because I don't have places to put everything. So I'm using, and I'll show you here what I'm using. But you know, when you can't do your normal thing, then you have to do something else. So I found some ways, well, other than be on the phone with all kinds of internet people and all kinds of cell phone people for hours. I have done that. Okay, this, I use the Memento ink, and this is our shimmery white cardstock, which I don't necessarily want the shimmer. This is my favorite neutral color because it's not white and it's not vanilla. I use more of this than I use white or vanilla because I like the color. This is the galvanized metal cardstock, and it's in the holiday catalog this year, and I love it. And you're gonna love it. You're really gonna love it when you see it colored with the blends. I'm gonna set that aside and let it dry for a second while I move on to the next part of the project, just to make sure that it's nice and dry. In the summer, that's an issue if you live in a muggy state. It did rain this morning. The sun's come back out, and it's not super hot, so the muggy isn't quite the issue that it can be in Indiana. This is our designer series paper that goes with the Country Home stamp set. It's the Country Lane Suites. So I've cut some strips of it, and you can do whatever size strip you want. This is some crumb cake, and I'm gonna wrap it around a jar. So you don't need, like, the 12 barely reaches, and it just depends on the size of jar that you're using. So the 12 barely reaches, but I didn't want to waste more because it's maybe this much short. 11 doesn't reach. So I've got a piece here that I've used before from the project I did before, and then here's another piece from the same designer series paper. So I'm going to move my Big Shot up here to get the different pieces that I need. So with this piece, I want one of our stitched ovals. This bundle, the Country Lane Suite, does not come with any dies. So you may have seen I've mixed it with the barn door, I've mixed it with the wood crate. This is just a nice background to mount it on my jar. So this is the stitched oval. I'll pull that out, and then I'm going to use the corrugated embossing folder, which is in the Holiday Mini. And it's great for wrapping around stuff. So if you want to wrap it around a candle, because it makes it look corrugated, but it also makes it really easy to wrap because it gives some super flexibility to your card. And obviously it's not 11 inches long, so I'm going to put it in like this and do half of it first. And you only need one platform. You don't need the little adapter, and one plate. So roll this through first. And then you're going to take it so you can get it the other part done. And you're simply going to flip it around. And then right where this piece here hasn't been done, just lay it in there to get that. And then send it back through so you get the other half. And that way you've got the longer piece. And again, it's not enough to go around the jar, but I'm just going to glue that part together. And that's all the big stuff that we need. I don't see where I put my jar. It's probably staring at me right in the face. I know I had it in my hands. You know, do two things at once because I don't see the jar. Of course, I have 52 jars in my office, so I can grab another one. There it is. Hang on just a second. Good thing my office isn't super big, so I didn't have to run super far to get it. But here's the jar that I'm going to use. These I just picked up at a craft store. I got them last year, and I haven't been back to see if they still have them. But it's very similar if you buy the spaghetti or an old ball jar. So I'm going to put my design on this part just so it lays flat. So I'm going to take my fuse, which I also put way where I can't reach it. And normally I don't like to put my adhesive on this because it flattens it, but you don't have a choice because we're not really sticking it to anything. And then I'm just going to put as light as I can. You could use snail, but it doesn't hold as well. So if you don't have any fuse, which we do have it available right now on the clearance corner, you have to have the cartridge because the cartridges are gone. But you could use the tear and tape would also work really well with this. So I have just added some bits of this. And then because this is going to be the back, I'm going to put this here. And you see what I mean about the corrugated? It just makes it roll really well. So this would be nice to do on a candle. And then I just gave it some extra because this is really the only thing that's going to hold it to my jar is this layer here. I'm going to put some cord on at the end, which kind of tightens it around. But the nice thing about this is this is going to be kind of be a fall one, but I'm going to show you on my Facebook Live. I slid it off at the end because I didn't put a whole lot of adhesive because I wanted to be able to pull it off. Then you can just reuse your jar for another occasion. So here's where the writing is. You can kind of see through the jar. So I want this flat part here. Here, you can see the writing here. This is going to be where I lay my thing just because this will stay the flattest. So for this next bit, I'm going to wrap this around. So I'm just going to add some, this one I want to stay adhered, so I'm just going to add some fuse the whole way. And then I want my seam to mostly be on the back. So just lay this here. You're going to see what I mean where it doesn't quite meet, but that little bit isn't worth it to me to waste some designer series paper when that's going to be the back of my jar. And then I'm going to take this tiny piece. This is just the flip side of this piece. And then for this one, I'm going to start back here because I want it to kind of overlap just to keep this down. And that will keep that one from raising up. And then my string at the end, my braided linen trim. So there, I've got that ready. And now that's been enough time for my stuff to have dried. I'll pop this out. And you know when you use the stitch one, sometimes they stick. Just because where it does the stitching. But it's so pretty. It just has the little, I don't know if you can see it, the little stitch design in there. And remember when you're going to color with the blends, you need a piece of scrap paper underneath your stuff. move all my plates out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to start with these here and do my cattails. This is, I'll tell you the colors I'm using, bronze. Just going to go the shimmery paper does not squeak as much, so for those of you who the squeaking noise bothers on the blends, use the shimmer paper. It doesn't squeak as much. I'm not going to color it straight to the edge because there might be a little bit of bleeding. Although for this one I am going to cut it out, so you don't have to worry quite as much. This was light crumb cake. Go back over where the dots are of the cattails, again with the dark. And then I'm going to just leave this here because I've allowed for some bleeding room. And then I'm going to, I'm going to use the two colors that are part of the Country Lane Sweets. There are new colors that you don't have that are part of the holiday. Somebody's texting me and it's popping up in my screen. This is the Cajun Craze, and these are new to the holiday catalog, and they are part of the Country Lane Sweet, so they match our paper. This is the dark Cajun Craze, and I'm just going to add a tiny dot because I'm going to pretend these are bittersweet. I don't know what they are, but I grow bittersweet in my backyard, and then I bring it in the fall, and I love bittersweet. It's native to Indiana, and it's a beautiful fall orange and red color. So that was the dark Cajun Craze, and then I'm going to take the light Cajun Craze, and again, I don't want it to bleed, so I'm just going to kind of pull the light to where and they're tiny, so it doesn't take a lot of blending. And then the other color that is new to the holiday catalog that's part of the suite is the Blackberry Bliss. So I have the light and the dark. And then this thing, I think it's probably an artichoke, but when we lived in Australia, and you girls that live there are so lucky because we don't have florists on all of our street corners. And, well, if you live in Indiana, in the suburbs of Indiana, we don't walk very much. So we don't walk past a florist to be able to buy beautiful flowers like this. So I'm just going to go with its Oratah, and plus it works with my Blackberry Bliss. So I've colored it with the light, and then just down in the edges of it, I'm going to add some of the dark blackberry. Pop that back on. And just blend that in. And then all that's left is two colors of leaves. And I have the sea foam, and I pulled the light and the dark out, but on these tiny flowers, I mean the tiny leaves, you really don't need two colors. So I'm just going to go with the dark because there's not enough room to blend them. So I'm just going to add a little strip, just real quick, inside these. They're like little fern leaves. And that's it for those. And then these larger leaves, I'm going to turn it my direction. I have the olive. And I'm going to take my dark olive. And here where the veins are of the leaves, or like the centers, I'm just going to add a strip of dark. And they're kind of hard to tell where is a leaf and where is not. So every time you color them, they might look a little different, but that's okay. And then I'm going to take the light olive and just kind of blend that around. And again, they might bleed, so don't go all the way up to the edge on all of it. If it bleeds a little bit, that's okay, because you are going to cut them out, but you don't want the whole thing to look like you colored outside the lines. I do have, if you are watching this close to the time that I posted it, I do have 2 upcoming classes. My classes that are done through the mail are called Artistry Inspired. So I have 2 upcoming Artistry Inspired classes. They would have been posted this week, at least the first one, if I'd had internet. The first one is making Christmas and making every day bright. So you buy the stamp sets and the punches and a couple of additional supplies. I can't remember while I'm coloring what the one is. And the second one is Winter Woods. And then you get either or both, whichever you prefer, a YouTube or a Facebook link for a private where you go for private videos to make the cards. I send you free the supplies to make 3 projects. And the videos are there, and I am there for assistance if you need help putting them together. So it's my free class by mail. And most of I don't think my projects are hard, but most of my projects are a step above, maybe. They're not hard, but my projects are a little bit, they're not just stamp and put together and fold something. Oops. Like some of the girls who do classes by mail are. So you don't have to, you can be a beginning stamper, I think, because I'm there to help you walk through it. But often my things have, each project usually has one more, we're going to go with, I don't know what you'd call it, artistry. I mean, I think mine are more artistic, some of my projects, than just your basic stamped project. So if you're interested in that, YouTube doesn't really give me any way to do that. So you need to get on my email list or go over to Facebook, and it's Cheri's Cards, or you can go to my blog. You can find information for all of it. So this is the silver galvanized paper. These are not 2 coordinating colors of blends. I used this is the dark basic black, and this is the dark smoky slate. Because the paper is already gray, I didn't really want to mess around with all of the blending that the blends will do, because the paper's already got part of the color done for you. So I took the black, and the places that there were the little highlights of shading, just the lines drawn on the can, I just added a little line of black, and then I'm going to let this dark smoky slate blend that for me. And you can see it blends really nicely. So if you've been wondering, can you color on some of these other kinds of paper? The answer is yes, you can. You saw I just did the shimmery. You can hear my allergies are acting up. I have a scratchy voice. If you haven't watched my videos before, I don't have a scratchy voice. My eyes are also swollen, which when I do my Facebook Live this week, it may look like somebody punched me in the face. Fall's my favorite season, but the allergies that come with it are not part of that. So I'm just blending the black. I'm going to leave the center of this just on its own. And I don't want like I want, usually when I work with the blends, like I get it all blended. Like I don't want to be able to see that I used a different color. Like I like it to blend so it kind of disappears into the color. But with this, if you've been out in the stores, you know that these galvanized metal tins are everywhere. And a lot of them are also like beaten galvanized metal. So I'm going to go with that kind of look on here, because you're going to see I'm going to add one more step to it in just a second. So this kind of helps with that. So there we go. So some really quick coloring. There's the flowers. And here is the tin, which it colors really, really well. Kind of with the paper, it's hard for me to get it up there where you can see it. You can go to my website and I'll have some still photos of this. Whoops, so you can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to take my scissors, and remember when you fussy cut to leave a little border around it. I don't know, sometimes we get spoiled with the dies, but hey, you know, cutting this out, it goes right back to me living in 1999 because we didn't have dies. We've had the Big Shot, I think, for about, I don't know, it feels like we've had the Big Shot forever, but demonstrators get a newsletter, and I think it said that we've had it since maybe 2008, so we've only had the Big Shot for like 10 years. I feel like it's been part of, I've been a demonstrator for about almost 25 years. And I feel like we've had the Big Shot for almost as long as I've been a demonstrator, which I know is not true because we cut for a long time. We had all kinds of circle cutting things, you know, because to cut a circle, when I first started, you had to find some kind of glass in your cupboard and trace it, and then cut that out, and then, you know, your cutting abilities were really on display then, because to try to cut the circle so it looked halfway decent was always a challenge. So we've had the Big Shot for a while, but now, you know, when we first got a circle punch where we could actually punch the circle, because we had some tracing things, we had things that were kind of like, I don't know, we had several variations of circle cutting things before we even just had a punch. So I like to cut, but you know, when you can roll it through the Big Shot, that's always best. Okay, here we go. So for this down here, I know I just told you to always leave a border for this bottom part where it's going to touch my can. I don't want to leave a border, so I'm going to cut right up next to the black, because if you leave the border there, then it's not going to look like your flowers are inside your can. So on this part, go ahead and cut right up, but don't cut into your flowers because you want to have the line of black. So just on this bottom row. Just like that. And then the rest of it, because they're all these like little leaves and stuff, you don't have to be perfect. Just kind of like cut them out because they're going to get mounted on that oval. Remember, I did the stitched oval. So hopefully I will have my artistry inspired for the Making Christmas and Making Everyday Bright class. I'm hoping to have it, I was hoping to have it before the end of September, but when you lose all the days dealing with your internet, it set me back a couple of days. So hopefully I'll have it ready to go by the end of September. But working with the hotspot on my home, which I didn't even have the hotspot, I had to get that set up through my cell phone company yesterday. So it does give me access to the internet, but it's pretty slow. We're gonna go faster than dial-up. You know, you don't know, it's like when you're sick and you can't breathe and you don't think about breathing until you can't do it. It's the same way with your internet. You don't think about how wonderful it is until you don't have it. So I'm not quite sure that I can get an email and get all of the marketing that I do, because I use PicMonkey, which I love PicMonkey. But when your internet is being hotspotted and it moves incredibly slow, I'm not quite sure that I can get it all up and then all the marketing done. We'll see. But I don't actually have my new internet coming until a week from Saturday. It's like October 8th or whatever that first Saturday is in October. So now this next part is super fun. You know, I've been a huge fan of our new Take Your Pick tool, and most of the time you see me use the pokey thing. Well, these, if you've caught any of my videos where these pop out, you slide these, and then this end has a scrapey. We're not going to use that. It has this other end that can also pop in here, and it's an embossing tip. So you just put this in here and you screw it back in. And then you know how these, you get this wonderful effect on the other side where that's why you need scrap paper. So I'm going to take this. Actually, I want the fat tip. The last time I did it, I did the thin tip, but I think the fat tip will make it go faster. So there's a fatter tip and a thinner tip. And we've had these in the past, probably in 1999, you know, when we didn't have all the fun technology, but then we had to hold these up to the window because there was really no way to see what you were doing except to see through your cardstock. We did have a light box, and I had the light box. But if you didn't have the light box, you had to hold it up to the window. So I'm just going to press over my cattails first, and then my Waratah down here. And you're just giving it, it's giving it some dimension, so it's going to pop out on the other side. And because of my blends, I know exactly where my cattails were. I know exactly where each of my leaves are. So that's just going to give them a little bit of 3D, which because this is going to be on a jar, and it's something that people aren't going to throw away, it's fun for the little bit of extra time. So you just kind of, you want to be careful. You don't want to poke through, but the shimmer cardstock is nice because it's a little bit more. So again, I don't know how well you can see that. Hopefully you can see it. But there will be still pictures on my website. And then on this one, it doesn't soak through this paper, so it's not quite as easy, except for the part that I want to pop out are these little bands. You know that if you had the real pot, these are what would have some dimension to them. So those are pretty easy, right? Because we know where those parts are on this, even when we can see it from the back. So it's this little lip up here. It's this little part down here. And if it's not exactly perfect, it doesn't matter. And then it's this piece right here. So you kind of know where that is. So you just put your little stylus on here. Back when we had the stylus, we had lots of stencils that would come out that would match our stamp sets. So since we've got this Make Your Pick tool, I wonder if at some point we may have the stencils coming back. So see, it's given, like these are now raised up. And it's given it some dimension, which is fun. So now I'm going to take the foam strips. I'm going to put my scissors. And in order to keep this raised up on a 3D thing, in case it gets, you know, people pick it up, I'm just going to add some foam strips, and this is what's going to keep it adhered to my card as well. They're like dimensionals. They're in the annual catalog. So it's the exact same material that a dimensional is. It's just in strips. So I'm just cutting it kind of the same length as what the places on my card are that are popped. So I'm putting them on the cattails. On this one, I'm not going to put it everywhere. I'm just going to kind of put one strip across the bottom of the leaves, and then one kind of over here on the other side of the leaves. And that way it can't get smashed back in when it's on the... So now all I have to do is take my jar, and because I know my letters are the back, that kind of helps me. I've got this piece here. And I know just from doing it before, the other thing that I was able to do, because our internet is in my office, and in my craft room, so everything's nice and clean in here. So when he comes, he will think that I work in the cleanest, most beautiful craft room studio that you've ever seen. Because when I was on hold incessantly with all of the technology people, I was able to get a lot of cleaning done. Oh, I haven't put my ribbon on. So this is the braided linen trim. I will have you know this is this third spool, and I'm probably going to use about the end of it. This is the cord that comes in the farmhouse suite. So I'm just going to roll them around at the same time. And this will hold the rest of my It will ensure that everything stays on. So I'm in a generous bit. Oops, and my ribbon, my trim just fell off the table. Or the cord. I'm sure my cat's gonna have a field day with that before I get on. Yep, there she goes. Cat toy. And you can probably hear her playing with it. So I'm going to tie this. It would be easier if I stood it up, but I want you to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to deal with my jar rolling. As you can hear my cat unwinding my vanilla trim. So I'm going to tie this in a knot. Can you hear her? It's not even, but that's okay because I'm not going to have a bow. I just don't want that one to come undone. So I have this here, get that piece out of that. And then I'm going to tie this again. Yeah, she's having fun with it. I wonder how much of it she's going to unwind before I'm done filming. It's like my cats know, they're just like children, that I'm otherwise occupied and they're not going to get in trouble because I can't yell at them. So I'm going to take the ends of my bow now and snip these because I want it to be more of a fun ribbon. And then this one obviously was too long, but that was the end of my spool of braided linen trim. So here's this. This is a little bit too long. I wanted it to be fun and spritzy. I'm going to take some glue dots because I don't want to smash all of the stuff. I just took time raising up. Oh, now she's taking the ribbon downstairs. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to roll that whole thing back up. Just add a few glue dots. And just stick this on here. And then that's done. I hope you can see how pretty the coloring with the blends on the silver paper is and on the shimmer. And then I found, oh, one last little thing. Because it's a home decor piece, I don't feel like you can go too much because I don't feel like people are going to toss it in the trash. Even, I think, if you gave this as make a lovely hostess gift. I'll stick that there so it doesn't roll around. These are our faceted dots, and they are from the annual catalog, and they come in, it's mint macaron, which is the color of the designer series paper. So I'm going to pull one of these off. But you know, sometimes when you use these things on a card, you're like, oh, some people might throw this, my work of art, in the trash. This one I think they're going to keep. It has Blackberry Bliss. So put one of these on here. And then it has black. So they're the perfect colors to match this. There we go. And then I went to Target, you know, where we find all kinds of things that we don't know we need. And this has Dove dark chocolate, and they have little pumpkins on them, and caramel. So that's the two flavors that are in here, but they match the paper fairly well. Oh, now they're, both the cats are in here because I guess he thinks I'm knocking stuff off and he's missing the action. So there you go. Is that not cute? And then I wanted to show you, because I didn't add a whole lot of adhesive to it, the thing, I had maybe the 4 strips. This is the one I made on my Facebook Live. So when I was done, I just took a longer pair of scissors and I just slid it in here, and then you're able to pull this off. So then you could just fold this down, because this corrugated paper folds really well. You could just fold those down and keep them, and then you'd have it ready for next year. Or maybe just have a jar that you could stick them inside, or a little box. But then you could keep them and then whip it back out next year, and then you'd have ready to use next year. That way you don't have to have a jar taking up storage space. But I will put pictures of these on the website. And again, I've had, that was one of the most popular questions after my Facebook Live. Where did I get the candy? It's Target, and it's Dove. The 2 colors that matched the best were the Dove Caramel. That's, I think the caramel ones you would have to ask my husband. I'm not a huge chocolate fan, but he's eaten several of them. I think the caramel ones are the gold, and I think the dark chocolate are the ones that are the green. And they're kind of the olive color. So there you go. I hope you enjoy that. I'll see you again later. Bye.